He sent me a text. Hey, here's a phone number. Stevie Wonder is looking for a keyboard player. Security guard walks over. Stevie wants to see you. So I get to the dressing room and Stevie says, Victoria, what part do you want to sing? Soprano or alto? Yeah, it was with President Obama's second inauguration with Stevie. President Obama was backstage. So I left Stevie and was on the Arsenio Hall show. The band was probably the best band on TV. Sorry, Brutes. Prince was on, I think, in March. He shook my hand and said, you sounded great up there. And I was done. I'm like, okay. Major artist seeking female keyboard player. And after maybe an hour or two, here comes Mrs. Carter. As in...
This is the Promise of Possibility podcast, sharing stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things so you can be inspired to do so too. I'm Aruja Bohart. Now let's dive in. Hi, Victoria. It's so good to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. Such a pleasure to see your face again after so long.
Oh my God, it's been ages. We were just going down memory lane. And, it's so funny. I've realized that every time I start this podcast, I go, it's been so long. It's been so many years, but it really has. I think we were thinking back, it's probably like 12 years ago now.
I'm thinking, was it 2011? 2012, something like
that. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to give away, all these amazing things that you have done. But yeah, it was in Curacao. It was at the North Sea Jazz Festival in Curacao.
Yes, and it was one of my favorite experiences ever, from the performing on stage to getting to meet Sting backstage. And
oh my gosh,
the second time, that was my second time meeting Sting.
Because you actually played, didn't you play with him once?
When he sat in with us at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely. And we did rehearsals with him too, of course.
Amazing.
And then when we went after the concert, we went to that party.
Yes.
And everyone dove off the cliff, except I took the stairs.
I was going to say, did you dive off the cliff?
Oh, no. I could barely swim. I had a child's toy wrapped around my waist so I could float.
Did you? Brilliant. Yes,
yeah, I didn't learn.
You got to experience the water.
I absolutely did. I was in the water for so long because of the toy that I actually got dehydrated the next day on the plane back.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. I almost passed out from dehydration.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
I just had no idea you shouldn't swim for 2 hours and not drink enough water.
Yeah, no. I mean, and the sun and the salt water and the sun. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
but that was so cool. It's funny. We're diving straight in because it was a jam session after the North Sea Jazz, and I think it took place like every year they did that. It was
that makes sense.
Weekend in Curacao they call it a weekend house. It's how some people have houses where they spend the weekends.
Yeah.
And a dear musician friend owns this house, and jam sessions happen there all the time, and every year after the Sunday after the North Sea Jazz Festival in Curacao.
The food, the drum circle, especially the drum circle, because there was just so many drummers and percussionists, and they even let us non-drummers participate.
Yes.
I think I had a shaker or something.
I know. I think I had a tambourine or something. Yeah. It was amazing.
It was so powerful, though. It was hours. Of just high level connected drumming and singing and
yes, it was absolutely. It's wonderful that you think that and that you remember that. I mean, you've done so much, but that trip stands out. That's wonderful, and that is really a testament to something that I call him my big brother. Herschel is his name. Is the one that owns the house, and he's an incredible musician and producer. And he does that. He did that every year, and up to now, like. When singers that live abroad or musicians that live abroad, anytime we're in Curacao, we go and we have time and,
that's wonderful.
Yeah. So we'll have to plan another trip.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Yes. Okay. Let me, just so much to talk about and so much to just go through with you because you are, not only a phenomenal piano player, and unfortunately you have your piano there, but our sound is not working, which what are you going to do?
What are you
going to do? We'll put loads of links in the description so that they can find you everywhere.
Perfect.
But you're not only a phenomenal piano player, but an incredible singer as well, and lyricist and musical director. You do, I think you've been a musical director at a Broadway show. You've done Tick Tick Boom, so much, and an author of a piano book, like a
Yeah.
technical piano book, right? Correct.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll dive into all of that. We'll
Yeah.
dive into all of that, and but mind you, I have all the time in the world.
Okay.
um, but take me back because you actually started playing classical, didn't you?
Absolutely. Yes. Well, actually, I started playing by ear. My mom said I had a toy piano when I was 2 years old, and it was my favorite toy, so I was always plucking out little songs on it, and my grandparents also had a piano, and when I would visit them, my family sits around and watches TV shows, and back then, every television show had a theme song, and so I would listen and then go to the piano and pluck out the theme song, and so that's how I started playing, just by ear.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you were like young, like 2 years old.
Oh, yeah, like, that's when I started, yeah,
Wow.
and I did that over until I was about 11 years old when my cousin Tori, um, who's about to have a big birthday, um, she was studying
Happy birthday,
piano.
Tori. Yeah.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Tori. She was studying piano. She wasn't into it. She's a wonderful singer, but she wasn't into the piano. So her piano books were on my grandparents' piano. And so I just was curious and I started teaching myself to read by just going through her piano books. And my grandfather noticed this and thought, maybe we should put this one in piano lessons. And the woman who lived next door to my mother's parents happened to be the same piano teacher that my father had when he was a little boy. It's just like
Wow.
mind blowing, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then, so her name was Laura Tombs Scott, and she was one of the first African American piano teachers in the Bay Area. When I started with her, she was in her mid 80s. She lived to about 105, and she trained,
Wow.
yeah, she trained I don't know how many San Francisco Bay Area musicians, but she made a huge impact on my life because she saw me. She saw the love that I had, she saw the passion. I was the kid that people had to stop practicing. Like 10 o'clock at night would come and I'd still be going, "No, no, 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 no.
Oh
Hey,
my
it's 10 o'clock, kid, go to bed." "Oh, come on, 10 more minutes."
god.
That was me.
Oh,
I
wow.
I couldn't get enough. And so Mrs. Scott saw that in me, and so she pushed me. So she gave me, um, in my first year, I was playing the Bach, um, solfeggiato. I was playing the CPE Bach, and then also the JS Bach, the preludes. After
That's
just a
your
year,
first year.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
insane.
That's how much I loved it, though. I just was like, "I gotta get this." And then I got into what was called the Young Musicians Program at UC Berkeley, which was a program designed for talented but, underprivileged children. So it was of all races, just like they didn't look at the race at all. They just looked at, financial status and, like, what your living situation was. And so for the most part, there were a lot of black children, right? Just
Yeah.
because of just America.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so I was one of those kids. My first time that I auditioned, they actually did not accept me. That's when I was 12.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm the stubborn type, so I was like, okay,
I'll be back.
I'll be back." And so I'm not easily defeated.
I
So I
love that.
went back again, the following year, and I was accepted in both the piano and the vocal departments,
Wow.
and studied classical piano and classical voice. However, my teacher, who was a lovely lady, was not the right teacher for me because I'm a polyglot, right? I love languages. And I knew there was one particular song, it was a song by Schubert. It's called Röslein, right? And she wanted me to sing it in English with the terrible English translation that was so super corny. I was so corny. I was embarrassed to sing it because all my friends, they were all R&B singers. Like, all the older kids, they were singing cool R&B songs, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I wanna do that." I don't want to
Yeah.
sing this corny German song in a
In
bad English
English.
translation. Yeah. So I ended up quitting.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And
What a contrast. The beginning, your love for piano was seen and validated, and your first teacher made it flourish, and then here's another teacher that
yeah.
then made you quit something that you loved so much.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. What a
It's
contrast.
I think
Okay.
it's just that she just wasn't the right teacher for me. I
Yeah.
mean, for somebody who someone else, it probably would have been fine, but I think if she had understood that,
Mhm.
"Yeah, ich kann Deutsch," then
Yeah. Yeah.
and had let me sing it in German, I
Yeah.
probably would have stayed with it. But, that's not what it was supposed to be. I was supposed to focus on the piano, apparently. And at the
Right.
very same time, I was a dancer too, and I had to make the choice when I
A
was
triple threat.
13.
Mm.
Hey.
Yeah.
But I had to make the choice, dance camp that summer or piano camp at the Young Musicians Program.
Mhm.
So I chose piano, and so my dance career ended early too. Yeah.
But, like, I think everybody who's ever worked with you is probably very grateful that you chose piano.
Me too. As much as I love dance and I love dancers, their
Yeah,
careers are short
they are,
because
they are.
the practice is brutal on the body.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
don't know any dancers that are my age that still dance professionally.
Yeah,
They
and what you said, it's brutal on the body. I know I danced for a long time, and singing was first and foremost, but,
yeah,
and I still feel the consequences to my body.
yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, but,
Yeah. So,
yeah, yeah.
so that's how it started, you know.
And then what happened? So UC Berkeley, the youth program, and what did you do? So did you then go on to go to college for piano?
Oh, absolutely. So I was in the San Francisco Bay Area, and
Mhm.
at the time, I knew I wanted to study piano. And then all of the professors, so at the Young Musicians Program at UC Berkeley, you studied with actual college professors. So these were high level artists, create composers. I mean, these were incredible people that in addition to what they did for their work, they also taught too, and they were also high level teachers. So it was the best possible scenario for me.
Incredible. It
And
just makes me like if I can imagine you back then, it just my mind goes to Fame. You remember the TV show Fame?
absolutely, that's how it felt. That's
Wow.
exactly how it felt. I mean, just how Debbie Allen in her real life, in her real school, and on the television show was just exacting, and
Yes.
she expected the best out of her
Yes.
students, right? And they rose to the occasion. That's what it
Yes.
was. You
Wow.
were expected to do the best, and the teachers, everyone from including the woman who I quit from. She was a good teacher, it just wasn't for me. But Mrs. Levister, Janice Maxie Reed, Bill Bell, just so many teachers who lovely human beings who really cared about their students, but they didn't play around. If you weren't doing the work, you heard about it,
Wow. Yeah.
and
I mean, we're gonna come to this later because I think at the level that you work and have worked for more than like a decade, it takes that type of discipline, right? So it
oh
must have
yeah.
given you an incredible foundation.
Yeah, no excuses.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do the practice, you're supposed to learn the piece to perform it by this date. They had weekly concerts. So you had to
Weekly
be
concerts.
weekly concerts. So you
Wow.
had to do your work. And if you didn't do your work often enough, they actually kicked you out of the program.
Wow.
Yeah, it was no joke. It prepared you for conservatory because that's how conservatory is.
Yes.
You pass
Yeah.
your juries or you fail your juries. There's no ABC, not grading. It's pass fail. And you fail, boot, you're out. So,
Jeez.
but it was great
Mm,
preparation for what was next. And so
yeah.
I was in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. My whole family was there, and I was a tiny person. I was maybe 90 pounds. And
Wow.
I was 17 when I graduated. And the college professors all had to come to my family to convince them it was safe for me to go to Ohio to Oberlin College and Conservatory to pursue my study. Because at that time, Oberlin was the best piano school and had the best piano department in the country, better than Juilliard, Manhattan School of Music, um, any of the big schools. Oberlin was the number one piano department. That's where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So my family listened to my professors and they said,
Oh,
"Okay." So they sent me and I went to Oberlin where I did a double degree triple major. So, because I'm
okay, what does that mean?
That means I have a bachelor's degree in piano performance, a
Yeah.
bachelor's degree in music history,
Yeah.
and a bachelor's degree in computer music.
That is that is fascinating.
So it's
That
just, yeah.
yes,
But
that's
the computer music and the music history are a part of a Bachelor of Arts, and the piano performance is Bachelor of Music. So that's
okay,
why it's the double degree, but triple major.
right, a triple major, right. How
If
long
I
how long did you do
4
4
years,
years?
4 years. I was not
Okay,
playing around.
you're a virtuoso, there's just no I mean,
Well,
it's
it
been
was
clear all this time, but now it's, like, completely, like, there's no there's no debating.
I wanted to get it done, and I'm a workaholic perfectionist, and so that I don't say that to brag, I say that to say that's something I've had to deal with my life and
I
learn
feel you because 'cause I'm there.
to yeah, I had to learn to moderate it because it's not healthy, right? So, I wanted to finish in the 4 years. If I had stayed a 5th year, I could have done a quadruple major, computer science, because the computer music was sort of, I had to do a lot of coding. But I decided against it. 4 years was enough in Ohio. I loved Oberlin, but Ohio's cold. I don't like the cold.
Yes.
And then summers.
I went from the Caribbean to study in Michigan and then had to leave. I went to Detroit for for 2 years because
Yeah.
all my music friends and my family, I kinda grew
Yeah,
up with this incredible music family in Detroit, and I wanted to be there, and
yeah.
I did so many wonderful things there, but it was too cold, so I had
It's
to
too
move
cold.
to Georgia, yeah. So
Yeah,
I hear you.
exactly. So, yeah, so I did my 4 years at Oberlin, and every summer to make it so that I could supplement, because I was taking 25 units a semester, just
That is insane.
loaded. I did
That's
I didn't
insane.
have a life. I went to one party a year. I was completely shut down. I'm just focused. But in the summer, I would take classes at UC Berkeley, and so
Yeah.
that allowed me to finish all 3 degree majors in 4 years. And then after that, I went to Stanford University for my master's degree. I could have stayed there and pursued a PhD, but I was ready for the world. So
Mm.
I was selected to tour with MC Hammer's girl group, Oaktown
MC
357.
Hammer.
Yes.
I didn't know that about you.
That was my first
Oh
tour.
my gosh. Too legit. Is it too
Yeah,
legit?
quit. Yep, that's it.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know
Uh-huh.
that. Wow, and where did you tour?
In the United States. So it was a part of a big rap tour. So
Yes.
they had Oaktown 357 was one of the artists groups. It was just two young women who were the rapper dancers. They had been dancers with MC Hammer, and then he produced their own project. And so the other artists that were on that tour were huge to this day. Queen Latifah, Will Smith, J
Wow.
who was known as the Fresh Prince, and DJ
Yes,
Jazzy Jeff at the time.
yes.
Public Enemy, Fat Joe, um, just a litany, right, of rappers who were big at the time. And so it was a lot of fun. It was wild, but it was a lot of fun, and it was all across the United States. So that was my first time touring across the United States, and Oaktown 357 had one of the first all-girl bands. And so I was part of that and did that tour, and it was fun. And once it ended, I decided to move to New York City because I met someone and moved to New York City, where I wanted to work as a musician, but just due to the nature of how life turned out, I was working as a computer consultant and database designer. And I did not perform in public once for 7
Are
years.
are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
It
How
was
did that feel? I'm not gonna talk about my story because that's not why we're here, but I kind of shied away from from the public light after 25, actually 30 years on stage
wow.
for over 10 years, and I know that, like, it was draining to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I became depressed. I was just unhappy, but I guess I just didn't have the trust that
Mm,
would provide a life that was
mm,
comfortable. And I could do the computer consulting and database design relatively easily. I started programming when I was 11. So it was something that I could do, that I was paid well for. Somebody in my early 20s, I was paid very well for that.
yes, and I think being perfectionistic by nature, which
I was
also
suited. Yeah, I was suited to the work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But not happy. And so then eventually I left New York. I left the relationship, which was not a good one. And I came back to California and I started getting some more clients, some more computer consulting database clients.
Yeah.
And the first client that I had was micromanaging me so badly that I thought, I just can't do this.
No.
I can't. And so
Yeah.
thankfully, since I went back home, people remembered me from my days as a kid when I was a prodigy. Because I was
That's
like winning
amazing.
competitions, I was on television, I was in newspapers when I was a kid.
No doubt.
And so they started hiring me to play for churches, schools, musical theater companies. I started
Wow.
teaching, and that led to me performing in local jazz bands, local pop bands, doing wedding gigs and that sort of thing. And so I was able to walk away from the computer world, and I never looked back. Like, you don't ask
Amazing.
me to code anything today. I don't it's just been too long. I don't know.
Thank God.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes.
I'm a techie, like, I can figure out things, but I don't
Yeah.
have to code anymore, thank goodness.
No. Right.
So I started performing locally, and I became a first call local musician across
Really. How about what age were you about now?
that was in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so I came back to well, let's see. No, I guess that was my 30s, yeah.
Okay.
How old am I? What? Where'd time go? Um, yeah, so I'm just, local musician, doing my thing, teaching. I had up to 40 students at one point.
Wow.
I was busy. I've been busy
Yeah.
my whole life, just like busy, busy, busy. So, like I said earlier, just trying to figure out how to moderate this so I
Yeah.
can have a little bit more joy and
Yeah,
peace.
exactly.
But yeah, so I built up a studio of students. I built up a reputation as basically a mercenary musician. You need a job handled, you
Oh.
call me, because I wouldn't join anyone's band.
Right.
I'm not joining your band because
Mm.
part of it for me was I think coming from the classical world where the expectation
Mhm.
is that you're gonna come in to a situation having rehearsed, prepared.
And it's very different when it's a band.
Very different. Yeah.
Very different, yes.
Yeah, like, when you do classical rehearsals, it's not a hang.
Mhm.
Nobody's
Mhm.
drinking beer, nobody's getting high, at least not before.
Absolutely, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you show up and the rehearsal is oh, and, if rehearsal starts at 7 and you arrive at 7, you're late. You better be in your seat at 6:59.
Yeah,
That's
wow,
just the way it is, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
just it's a different world. And
yeah.
so when I started rehearsing with various bands and they'd want me to join their band, I would notice things such as everybody's rolling in at different times. They're drinking beers and getting high during rehearsal. They're learning songs during rehearsal, and I'm just like,
Oh my god, yes.
I just
Yeah.
can't. I can't. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm like, I will show up. I will do one rehearsal. This was my rule. One rehearsal, and I will show up to the gig. That's what you got. Okay. And yes, you're paying me the same.
Yeah,
I'm not taking
for
a pay
sure.
cut. So that's just the way it was, and I know I did it enough that people knew that about me, and they're just like, "But I'm a cool person, I'm a nice person, I'm a good hang."
Yeah,
Like, "You're gonna
yeah,
have a good time when I'm around." Like, I don't judge anybody's behavior other than don't waste my time.
exactly.
Don't
Absolutely.
waste my time, and I'm cool, and,
Yeah.
like, on the gig, I'm fine. I'm gonna bring the party to the stage, I'm gonna be networking with the client, I'm gonna bring nothing but joy, right?
Right.
So I worked a lot. I did a
Mhm.
lot of gigs across the spectrum of music, classical, gospel, choir, whatever,
Mm.
whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
jazz, polka, whatever, And I had a good time doing that. And I was also writing music, which
Mm.
I actually started writing music back when I was in New York too. But
Writing songs, like lyrics
songs.
and
Whole
music?
songs, yeah, as I was writing and producing. So,
Mhm.
writing lyrics, writing the tracks, producing the tracks myself, and trying to get it placed with artists, and I was not successful with that because that wasn't my sole focus,
Mhm.
because I was doing so many other things, know?
Right.
Oh, well, but
Right.
it's all good, it all worked into this, so
Absolutely,
Ah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
then so how I don't wanna mention a name, I want you to mention a name of the artist you toured with for,
The
was
first
it
one,
7 years?
7 years. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
so
the
I'll
first
tell
one.
the
We'll talk about
story
the first one first, yes.
how that happened. I was on MySpace, which was the big deal back then,
Oh god,
right?
MySpace, yes.
MySpace, that's what everybody was doing. This is, I guess Facebook had started, but nobody was on it yet, or
Yeah.
very few. And I made a profile that had a pretty picture and me playing classical piano because I was basically using it as my website to promote wedding gigs because wedding gigs paid better. That's
Right,
really what
yes.
it was, because club gigs, just like now, paid garbage.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so just you can't survive. So I thought,
No.
okay, let me advertise myself for wedding gigs because they were relatively easy and I could charge top dollar. So I also would read the trade magazines like Billboard or Keyboard, and I would find out who's touring with whom.
Yeah.
So I would look up those people on MySpace. Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm a pianist. Blah 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 blah, and just be, because I'm
Amazing.
friendly. I can make friends. I make friends very easily, and so I
Right.
would make friends with these various people, mostly men, because that's just the way the business was
Of
is.
course. Is.
But
Is.
getting better, getting better.
Yep.
But and I made friends. Thankfully, I was watching something recently where women were talking about how harassed they've been in the business, and I'm so lucky. The men that I connected with were all lovely, and I
Oh,
personally was not harassed. I do know of many women who were, but I'm
yeah.
so grateful that for whatever reason my angels blocked those
Oh.
wretched people.
Oh, absolutely. I've had conversations about this, and I mean, because you end up being in a studio with men at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, all
Mhm.
men. I think because I started from a very young age, I always positioned myself strategically as the young sister. I didn't never realize that I did that, but it
Wow.
also brought this completely different dynamic to the
Yeah.
room.
Yep.
So they were protective over me rather than, you know
That's
what I
what
mean?
I absolutely, that's what I always got. Every situation I was in, those men, if anything went down, had my back. They were
Absolutely.
gonna block any situation and even put themselves into physical harm to protect me.
Right.
That's the level of connection and
Mhm.
family that I've had with every situation. Like literally never once did anyone do anything inappropriate, which is
Amazing. Yeah.
amazing, right? So I'm so grateful for that. So back to MySpace. So the people that I reached out to were these type, right? Just good guys.
Mm.
And one of them sent me a text message because we moved off of MySpace into texting, but again, still completely above board, nothing weird. He sent me a text, "Hey, here's a phone number. Stevie Wonder is looking for a keyboard player." And I thought, "Whoa, okay." And so I
Stevie
called
Wonder.
Stevie Wonder.
It's
And
like
so
that's like, I mean, that is, talk about the icon of music.
absolutely. My very first record that I ever bought with my own money was In Square Circle by
Oh
Stevie
my
Wonder.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, how did you feel?
Yeah.
Okay, no, no. Keep telling the story. I'm not gonna interrupt you.
So I called the phone number, and the person who answered the phone was the president of his company. And she said, "All right, your appointment to audition is Friday at 4 o'clock." This was on a Wednesday. Okay.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm mistelling the story. I called the number on a Wednesday. On Thursday, I got the call back while I was teaching a student, and I saw it was a Los Angeles phone number. And so I told my student, "Your lesson's on pause. Hold on." And so I answered the call, and it was her, and she said that Friday. So that was the next day. And so I said to my student, "Here's your money back.
You gotta go.
Lessons canceled. All lessons canceled for that day." Right?
Yes.
Canceled. Because I'm like, okay, I got to go and just listen
Yeah.
because I did not get a set list. I just went online and I had iTunes and
Right.
I just listened to every Stevie Wonder song I could find. Back then, I did not have a portable device other than a portable CD player. Oh, I'm dating myself. Okay. But that's what it was. So
Yeah.
I burned a few songs. Somehow I listened to the songs on my CD player,
Yes.
and and that's what I was listening to. And I didn't, I just listened to what the most popular songs. I had no idea. So I get to Los Angeles. I buy a flight. I get to Los Angeles, and my friend Lynette Williams, who was touring with will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas at the time, was in
Wow.
rehearsal with will.i.am.
Mhm.
So my audition wasn't till 4, but it was at the same place, center staging. So I
Okay.
went down and hung out with her for a little while, and then I was like, I should just go practice somewhere. So I found a piano room, practiced, and then 4 o'clock came. I got myself dolled up, my hair, all cute in a cute outfit, la la la. And
How did you feel? I mean, how
I
did you
was
this is eh
I was excited,
okay,
right? I think the excitement overwhelmed the fear because
okay.
I didn't imagine I had a chance. Honestly, I
Yeah,
didn't, because I had never toured with an artist like this,
yeah, yeah.
And so I was just super excited. And so when I first got to the room, there were 3 of us, 3 women altogether, and both of the other 2 had already toured with other R&B acts. So
Okay.
they had that experience.
Right.
And I've toured with a rap group, so it was very different. um so the first few hours, it was just us and the band taking turns playing the hits, right?
Okay.
And
The first 2 hours.
the first few
Oh,
hours.
few
Yes.
hours.
Yes, so my audition was at 4. My flight back home was at 8.
You
Stevie
missed that flight?
arrived Stevie arrived at 9.
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
So,
oh,
I
wow.
I had a gig booked in San Francisco that night at 10.
Oh
So
my
I
god.
had to find a sub because I was like, "I'm not leaving."
No. No.
I had to find a sub, postpone or reschedule my flight I tried it for the next night.
Yeah.
Finally, Stevie arrived at 9 PM.
Wow.
And the same sort of thing happened in terms of the round robin that we took turns playing, but it was
Yeah.
all fusion jazz. None of the hits and
Whoa.
fusion jazz that he had composed, so no one had ever heard it before.
Oh my god.
So, it's all about your ears and your stamina. Can you listen, catch it, and play it? That was the audition. Finally, at about 2 a.m., they're like, "Okay,
Oh my
everybody,
god.
thank you very much. We'll let you know." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what do I do?" So
10 hours after you started.
mhm. So I went to a hotel. The next day, I got a call, "Come back the next day." Okay, cool. So the auditions would continue at 4 o'clock. I got there at 2 so that I could practice.
Mm.
Little did I know, everybody noticed that, but I'm like this naive kid just like, "I just wanna practice." Just like
But that's that, talk about that's that training that was
that's
instilled
the
in you.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So, I, auditioned again that next day, and the next day, several men came in,
Mm.
and but both women were gone. I was the only woman left. And
Okay.
so all these men came in, and they were all experienced R&B jazz musicians who were exceptional,
Wow.
right? Again, the round robin, or taking turns playing songs that you didn't know, right? That went on for 2 more days. I'm
For
skip
2 more days.
Yeah, so I'm skipping ahead a little bit. On Monday, so I had to change my flight again and again.
Yes, and find subs again and again.
Yes. So that Monday at 7 PM, finally they said, "Okay, thank you everybody, we'll let you know." So I'm like, "Okay, well, let me figure out what to do." And so, I w waited for about an hour because I was so exhausted, I wasn't sleeping.
I can
And
imagine.
I knocked on the door and I said, "Hey, can you recommend another hotel? Because like, I missed my flight again."
Yeah.
And then it was Nate Watts who said to me, "Baby girl, you got it."
Oh my god.
And I turned into Miss America and I started sobbing. And he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." And I called my mom.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my god.
And
Oh
then
my
my
I
whole life
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
my whole life changed.
It
The first show was that Friday.
that Friday,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah. I had to fly back home, pack myself up. I had a little party with my students.
Aw.
fly back to Los Angeles, and then I was gone. I was on tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the first tour? Was it a US tour or was
US
it a
US initially. Yeah, and
okay.
then we went all over the world.
Oh my
And I was
gosh,
with
and Curacao.
him. Yeah,
And
and
before
Curacao.
and
Yep.
Curacao. Yes, now I can say that's the artist that you were performing with,
Yep.
you came to
Stevie.
wow. What was life like with Stevie? I mean, he's such an I mean, to call him an artist is almost like not doing him justice because he's a legend in
Mhm.
so many ways. What was life like for somebody like you who's a virtuoso? I mean, you were a prodigy, so I think you fit right. Obviously, you got the job because you fit in that world.
Yeah.
And I have a. Do you know Keith John was also a
Of
backup
course.
singer for Stevie,
Yeah.
right?
Keith
Yes,
John was one of
yes.
the singers. Yeah.
'Cause you were also a singer. You weren't only playing piano.
Right, so that's a funny story.
Okay.
So, we had done maybe 5 shows, and we were in Santa Barbara, and we did sound check, and in all of the rehearsals, because we rehearsed the week, up to the first show, and then we do rehearsals, like, sound check was basically a rehearsal. And so we'd finish sound check, and in between, like, when on bathroom breaks, meal breaks, etcetera, I'm singing. I'm singing parts that I just heard because 'cause I'm like, but I didn't perceive of myself as a singer, so I had no fear. So I'm
Amazing.
just like, "I'm just gonna sing la, 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 la," right? Just
Yeah.
singing along, la, 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 la. No big deal. Didn't care, right? Whatever. Nobody cares. I'm the piano player. Whatever. I'm at my meal, having my dinner before the show. Stevie's, security guard walks over. "Stevie wants to see you." And I'm like, "Uh-oh." I'm like, "Did I do something wrong?" I'm terrified, right? I'm like, "Did
Right.
what why am I standing out?" I'm just trying to play my piano and be quiet. So, I get to the dressing room, and Stevie says, "Victoria, what part do you wanna sing? Soprano or alto?" And I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
"What? What? Huh?" And so I said alto because I figured it would be easier.
Yeah. Harder harmonies. Alto is always harder.
I mean, it just but I could hear the harmonies. That's not the thing was I was thinking I couldn't sing high.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
"Alto." And then he's like, "Keith John, show her the part."
Oh my gosh.
I sang the first time that night and every show after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Just like, wow. And so, yeah, I'll get back to my first question. What was life as this prodigy that you are, with the perfectionism, with everything? What was life like with Stevie? Did all of that serve you? I'm sure in a way it did, the strict routine of practice, practice, practice,
Yeah, the
and
work
being on
ethic.
time and just the discipline that must have served you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Lobby call, never late. Anytime
Yeah.
there was a rehearsal, I would always talk to the engineers and like, "Okay, when can I get some time by myself where I'm not interfering with your setup?" And they'd always find like an hour or 2 window where I could just come in and just play the rig or on the
Mhm.
actual, on Stevie's piano, either
Yeah.
way. And, because Stevie didn't mind if I played his piano. And,
Brilliant.
because I mean, I was playing, just trying to keep my chops up, listening to all kinds of jazz artists. Like back then, my favorite 3 to listen to were Gonzalo Rubalcaba, Hiromi, and Robert Glasper, and so I would listen to their tunes and I would shed them so that I could, because that I just had such respect for their abilities, I mean, as true virtuosos, and wanted to expand, my jazz skills because my primary experience was classical and, theater.
Right,
So
and so with playing with Stevie, I mean, before our call, I was rewatching one of the shorts that you did, or it was an Instagram with piano.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, like breaking down, Superstition and all those
Sure.
chords.
Yeah.
Piano, lovely, yes. Well,
Mhm.
just how you were showing, you said it would have been possible to just do a few chords, but Stevie literally goes, it's chord after chord after chord, and then,
Yeah.
um, so to be able to, play with him, did you feel like you really had to up your jazz game?
Yeah, absolutely, but the thing was it wasn't that I thought I wasn't capable. It
No.
was just that Stevie practices every day.
Oh, wow. Mm.
He set the bar. So I'm
Amazing.
like, "Oh, well, if he's doing that, then I sure better."
Yeah.
And all of the players in the drum
Mhm.
sorry, all the players in the band
Yeah.
were superlative as well.
Wow.
They were just phenomenal, and I just was like, I can't slack. I
Yeah.
can't be, a weak link. I gotta make sure that I can do what I'm supposed to do, and
Yeah.
one of the things I'm really good at is replicating what the record is. So, if
Mm.
the record is this specific voicing and this particular articulation and this particular pattern, then I'd nail it like the record, and I know that Stevie appreciated that about me, that, it
Mm.
just because so that way it felt home and
Right,
gave the
right.
listener the cathartic experience that they came for,
Exactly,
they
because they're so
contributed
used
toward
to
it.
listening to that record and yeah.
Yeah, and then when there was time for space and for my own interpretation of something, Stevie would give us he was so generous with giving us that space, and when I wanted to be able to do that, then, yeah, that meant practicing, but I love practicing, so
Yes, yes.
yeah,
From the time you were very little.
yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. And did you because you were the pianist and Stevie gets on the piano and plays as well, so did you often play together? Like, would you be playing together?
Oh, all 3 of us did. So the other keyboard player was Roman Johnson, who's also a phenomenal artist,
Mm.
and, so we would take different roles. So Stevie had the option of the piano, the electric piano, or the clavinet,
Ah,
right? So he would alternate or the harmonica.
right.
So, for example, if Stevie was on the electric piano, then I would play the piano part, and if he would switch to the piano part, then I would switch to the electric piano part. Roman primarily would do secondary clavinet parts and organs, as well as, like, lead synth lines. I would focus on piano, or electric piano, again, when Stevie wasn't on one, I was on the other, so I would switch off whatever he was doing, then I would we would play tandem, you know? And
Right.
then if it was something that didn't call for both, then I would handle strings, flutes, harps, auxiliary,
See.
or sometimes I would, like, supplement the horns because we
Wow.
had, a trumpet and a saxophone, but sometimes, at least for that first tour when we didn't have a full horn section, I would
Because and
supplement.
then it called for more horns.
So, yeah, I was busy the whole time. There was not a time. Keyboard players had no breaks in the whole show. We were doing something the entire time.
Especially keyboard players that sang as well.
Absolutely. Singing and dancing and doing my little two-step. Yep.
Brilliant, just brilliant. How long did you tour with Stevie?
From 2007 until 2013. 2013 was the last show, and the last time if you count the NAMM show, then 2014, so
Right.
it's about 7 years.
Wow. And
Yeah.
you played, uh, for the president as well. Was it with him?
Yeah, it was with President Obama's 2nd inauguration with Stevie, and we played, a big show and a smaller show at the
Wow.
inauguration.
What was that smaller show like?
Well, they were both just awesome, and I mean, just, just loaded with celebrity musicians,
Yeah.
and on the way to the stage for the smaller one, President Obama was backstage. I didn't get to meet him, but I was probably about 10 feet away from him,
Ooh.
and I waved, and he said, "Hello." And I went,
Oh,
and ran to the stage. But,
amazing.
yeah, so I was like, "Okay, I didn't get to meet him, but,
And you got a hello.
I got a hello." So
You
that's
got a
something.
hello.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wonderful. So,
Yeah.
okay, so then 2014 and, so you stopped touring. What did you do then? Like, did
Well,
you I mean, I'm sure you were exhausted from
ah,
being on the road a
I love
lot.
it. I love it, and especially with Stevie, with the people I've toured with, they take good care of us. We stayed in
Mhm,
nice places,
mhm.
so it was fine, I was never in a situation where I had to sleep in a van or something, no,
I'm
no.
sure, yeah, no. I mean, I
No,
can't yeah, I'm sure that didn't happen.
no,
Um,
the accommodations were quite nice.
so
So, what happened was, in May of 2013,
Mhm.
I auditioned for a television show, the
Ah,
Arsenio Hall
the
Show.
Arsenio Hall show.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I booked the gig. And so that is why I left Stevie,
Oh, wow.
because my thinking was It's not every day that you get to be on a television show, to get to be seen by millions of people. And I was just
Very,
looking at all of the hit TV shows that had happened in the past and how the artists use that as a launching pad
very
to
true.
do more. And as much as I love Stevie, I was a support musician,
Yes, yes,
and it's
yeah,
like, well, the only way that I'm going to do more is to walk away, which was
that's
one of
true.
the hardest decisions of my life
Oh, I can
because
imagine.
yeah, because it's a dream gig. If you're gonna play for anybody, that's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah, for sure.
The music is just it's like from the voice of God, you know? I mean, it's just like, what
Absolutely,
it can't get
absolutely.
better, it's
No.
just and then, like I said, it was a real family. I felt taken care of,
Mhm.
but I felt like I had a bigger statement to make.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
told
I love
Stevie
that.
goodbye,
Yeah.
and I found out later from Arsenio that Stevie's the one that told him about me.
Oh my god.
Right?
Oh,
I was like,
oh,
"Oh."
hold the tears. Oh my
The
god.
tears, exactly.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
so
you can't wish for any more than that. I mean, that is so beautiful
it
because
is.
he saw that in you, that you needed a bigger
Yeah.
stage for you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
So
beautiful.
I still see beats in my heart
Aw.
forever. Yeah, I see him at least once a year.
Do
So,
you? Ah, beautiful.
yeah. But,
That's wonderful.
yeah, so I left Stevie and was on the Arsenio Hall show, and I was the keyboard player and one of the singers on that show, as well as Sean Holt was the primary singer, and then I would do some of the singing, and then we did a lot of singing together, and
Amazing.
I had 7 keyboards. It was like a space,
Oh, wow.
but I wanted it so I could have all the different sound options and be able to transfer between sounds
Yeah,
easily, and
yeah.
we did it. The show was great. We
Oh,
had
thank
great ratings. The band was probably the best band on TV. Sorry, Roots. But
yeah, yeah.
all right, Roots are great. Roots are great.
Yes, it's
But
great, but
the
I'm
Posse
sure,
was
I can
great
imagine.
too. Well, yeah, the Posse 2.0 was great too.
Yeah,
Um, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, above my pay grade, I don't know, the
yeah,
show
the
was
show was
canceled
canceled.
after 8 months. Yep, and, like,
Aw,
a month or 2 after Prince was on. Prince was on, I think, in March
you got to
2014.
play with Prince.
Well, I had already played with Prince when he came and guested with Stevie a couple of times.
Wow,
Yeah,
amazing.
but I never got to speak
Wow.
to him until he came on Arsenio.
So you got to speak to
I
Prince.
got to speak to him, yeah, and it's funny because I grew up around, the Escobedo family, so, Sheila E. is from the Bay Area, and one of my closest friends was good friends with her little sister, Zena, so I got to know Zena, I got to know Peter Michael, and Renee, and a bunch of the family, moms and pops, and so I know those people, the family since I was a teenager. So anytime that Sheila was with Prince, she knew me. She knows me. So she was like, "Hi." She'd wave at me. Prince,
Wow.
nothing. Like, "Oh, well, when it's time, it's time." But when he came on Arsenio Hall show, I got to meet him and he gave me one of the nicest compliments. I just was blown away. I turned into a little girl.
Oh,
It was
what did he say to you?
He shook my hand, and before I could say, because I was preparing myself, I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna tell him how important his music is to the world, and how much it affected me, and how much I appreciate his artistry." Blah blah. Blah. Before I could say word one, he shook my hand and said, "You sounded great up there," and I was done. I'm like, "Okay, thank you, bye." Oh, and I said, "I love you," and I ran away.
Oh.
I
Aw.
turned into a 13-year-old. I'm like, "What happened? What was that?"
Of course you would. Anybody would.
He just started laughing, and I was like, "Oh well, I'm running now, so I guess I keep going."
Oh, wow.
But that was on
Ama
Arsenio.
amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
then you played with you did your Arsenio Hall show for 8 months until it was canceled.
yeah.
What year was it about now? Was it 2015?
No, that was 2014.
Okay,
It was canceled
2014.
in 2014, and, so then I actually didn't work for a couple of years because the thing is that happens with musicians when you book a big gig,
Mhm.
local gig people think you're not available anymore or that, may misperceive that you think that you're above them, but it's like,
Yeah.
I've never had an ego, a big, a big head
That's so
about
clear.
anything,
That
I
is
guess
so clear. I think
yeah.
anybody can see that, yeah.
Yeah, so
Which
I'm
is
just
so
like
special about you having done all of this, but I think the best people out there, and the most talented and prolific people don't have egos because
Yeah.
it's a gift and they know it's a gift, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's absolutely been my experience. The
Yeah.
most talented people are so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely,
and it's
absolutely,
just
great
about the
people.
love.
Yeah,
That's it.
of course, and
That's
it's about serving through your art, right? They just see
Yep.
it as serving, and then instead of having an ego, it's like, being able to celebrate and love hanging out with your peers that are making music or art too.
Exactly, and cheering each other on, like, I am so happy when I see somebody I know doing
Yeah,
a great gig or releasing an album, I'm the first one to
yeah,
repost it, to cheer them on,
absolutely.
or, like, for years, people have actually told me that they appreciate that I did it, but it was natural to me. If there
Yeah,
was a gig I couldn't do for whatever reason, I'd pass
mhm,
it on. Like, why would
right.
I hoard it? Why would I do that?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
But
But
apparently
that's
people
what I mean.
do.
Apparently they do. Apparently they do. And very often in this industry, like it's almost common. And then good things keep coming your way because something incredible came your way. And
Yes,
I want to know
indeed.
how that happened. I remember seeing the post and I just went, what? I think it was something you posted and you were on a little cart backstage, one
Right.
of those little like hockey, you know what,
Yeah, the golf
what
carts.
is, yeah, like golf cart. Yes.
Mhm.
So yes,
Yeah.
take us to that moment. I'm not gonna mention names because I wanna hear you
Sure.
say
Okay.
it.
Well, this was 2 years, yes, 2 years later. I was unemployed. I was struggling because that's the nature of this business when you're a support musician. Unless
Yeah,
you actually have a breakout hit and you
mhm,
actually have a windfall of income, working musicians that you see out there for the most part are surviving.
yeah,
You know,
which is
so it's like people
crazy.
don't understand that. They think that it's all glitter
Mm.
and gold and it's like, no. And I'm sure there's exceptions, but
Yeah,
especially back in the day people did pretty good and they could set themselves up. But today it's hard, it's a hard existence, and so I just was like I started teaching again, but I was, just in a struggle. But I got an email message in February of 2016, major artist seeking female keyboard player, and it had a whole list of items like playing a bunch of scales, playing a classical piece, playing a jazz piece, playing a Stevie Wonder song, which is like
Ugh.
an R&B song, all these different things, and all I could think was, "This sounds like me." And so, with the assistance of my partner, Dave
Mhm,
Tweedy, who is a brilliant musician in his own right,
right.
um, he helped me to curate, and some ideas for creating the video. I created a video doing all the things that were on the checklist,
Right.
submitted it, got a call back, and the call back asked for a specific song that gave it away. The
Oh,
song
so you
was
didn't know it
no,
was
it just said
major
major
artist,
artist.
didn't say who.
Didn't say who. But the second audition, it said, "Play the song 1 plus 1." And I was like, because 'cause I'm a fan, I was like, "Oh, I know
Oh,
who that is." I was like, "Ah!" Because I had auditioned for her 10 years
really?
before that. Yeah,
Really?
I did, and I thought I did a good job, but I didn't get a call back then.
Oh, wow.
That was the year before Stevie Wonder.
Mm.
All that
Gotta do better.
just like back in the day when someone denied me, I was like, "Hmm, oh,
I'll show you.
So after I didn't get the gig with her back then, I practiced, 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 and I got Stevie.
Ah.
So flash forward 10 years, the second audition, I just went in and I was like, "Okay, let me show you what I can do with your song, ma'am." I got a call to come and audition in person. I walked in, I there was, 3 other musicians there, bass, drums, and, guitar, and I was the keyboard player there. So we played through a bunch of stuff, and after maybe an hour or 2, here comes Mrs. Carter, as in Beyoncé.
Beyonce.
Hey.
Oh,
And she came and introduced herself and welcomed me to the team, and I was offered the job on the spot
like that.
with that. Yeah.
That was the Formation tour? Was it the
The
Formation tour?
Formation tour, yep. And so the first gig, just like with Stevie, the first gig was a couple days later.
Why do they do that to people?
I mean, I was fine, I was ready, and so I did what I needed to do, and they made the big announcement on her website of the band, and I was able to post my pictures, and
Ah,
I was gone for 8 months? 10 no, 10
wow.
months? I don't remember. It was all the year basically, almost the whole year,
Yeah.
um, and it was awesome. We toured around the world, and it was the biggest thing I've ever been involved with because it was all stadiums.
Mhm.
Like Wembley Stadium was 90,000 people
Wow.
each show, and she sold
Crazy.
out everywhere, of course, because she's
Of
just
course.
when people ask me about her, it's like, sometimes I struggle with words to find something that can exemplify the level of excellence that she has. And it's just
Really?
like superlative, yes. And I'm like, I almost wanna say it's like she's an alien
Really?
because it's like,
What give examples.
how is a human doing this,
Mm.
Just I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing she has perfect pitch because
Yeah,
she does not sing flat.
that's
She
great.
doesn't sing
Live.
out of key. I
Even
mean, it's
live?
like I've seen her sick, I've seen her tired, because she works like, she's always at the venue before everybody else, and she leaves after everybody. Like, it's
Yeah,
not this typical the story that you hear about, celebrity artists. No,
yeah.
she's a worker, and she knows what she wants, and she's just like with Stevie, she sets by example. Stevie set by example. She sets
Yeah.
by example. Um, so yeah, I've heard her in all kinds of situations, and I'm her pianist, so I'm sitting. She's like literally next to me.
So if anybody would hear her,
If
it
anybody's
would
gonna hear her, it's me.
yeah,
And
yeah.
when I tell you the level of perfection, her song "Flawless," that's about her. Flawless. Truly, I mean, just always the tone and always the expression. I mean, she just does not hold back. She's
Wow.
connected. Minute 1. I just love her. I mean, she's just you know? So, yeah, so to be able to play and accompany that voice, that artistry, and then, of course, she just looks like a supermodel. Like, "How is that possible?" You know?
It's
Like,
like perfection and everything.
all the things, yes, and just always so gracious. Just
Again, that's like, to have that whole package and then be gracious. That's the most beautiful thing, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I loved every minute of that too. In 2017, of course, the world knows now that the tour did not continue. It was supposed to, but it
Yeah.
did not because she got pregnant with the twins. And
Yes.
so
Oh,
while she was pregnant, here's a really unbelievable story. I was offered the opportunity to do a Broadway show in January 2017. As far as I knew, the Formation tour was gonna continue in, like, March, so I had to make a decision. Do I go with this musical theater piece, the Donna Summer musical, who was another hero of mine before, I never got to meet her, she passed years before this. But what do I what do I do? Do I
do.
walk away from Beyonce? Do I take the Broadway? Do I turn down a Broadway show? Literally January 3rd, they gave me till February 1st. They were like, "February 1st, we gotta know." January 31st, I accepted the Broadway gig, and I was just like, "I'll just have to deal with the consequences."
Oh my
February 1st, she announced that the tour was postponed because she was pregnant. So I made
oh
the
my
right
God, Victoria, I get chills.
Yeah, me too. I was just like,
Oh,
"Ah!"
Jesus.
Yeah. So I
Oh
was
my
doing the Broadway show. Did it in La Jolla, California, which is San Diego area first, and then we went to Broadway. And while we
ah,
were on Broadway, I get the call, she's doing Coachella.
oh my goodness.
Here I am again with this
Oh,
terrible decision. Do I find a sub for Broadway? Is that even a possibility? Because the show wasn't open yet.
it wasn't.
No, we were in preview or we were in, rehearsals to get ready to
Oh
open.
gosh.
I'm the music director. I
Yes. Do you get a sub for a music director? Does that I don't
Coachella, iconic,
oh
life-changing,
my
historical event
oh
for all
my
of history,
yeah,
but will require at least a month of rehearsals.
yeah.
a month away from Broadway, probably lose my job.
Right, for sure.
So again, I chose Broadway
Oh, wow.
because it was, as much as I would have loved to have done Coachella, it was s 2 singular events, 2 weekends, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that would have been
And the
it.
Broadway had the potentiality, if it was a hit, to change my life.
Of course, of course.
So I went with
S
Broadway again, and I watched Coachella online and
Oh,
sobbed the entire time. I was like, "I was supposed to be there."
I can imagine, I
Oh
can
god, it was
imagine.
such a hard decision, but,
Mm,
she understood,
mm.
you know?
And I'm sure she was gonna say, it just shows the person you are, and I respect those decisions. Those are to say those are extremely hard decisions doesn't even get close to, what it's like, and it just shows your character for taking decisions like that. It is unbelievable, and so I'm sure these artists that you've worked with must
Yeah.
have seen that, I mean, that's
Yeah.
something to be
Yeah,
respected.
she understood
Mm,
it, and, because the thing was I continued to work with her, so
mm.
I've done a bunch of arranging, I've done some recording,
Wow.
different I did do more performing with her too. The last performance that I did with her was actually in 2020 for the Kobe Bryant Memorial, after he
Oh,
passed
wow.
away, and she
Yeah,
performed, and I was the pianist for that. And
yeah.
then, after that, in 2020 was when I got another phone call, which was, "Hey, you wanna be in a movie?"
Fabulous.
Yes. So I had met Alex Lacamoire, who is the music director for Hamilton, Lin-Manuel's tour de force,
Oh, God,
hit musical number 2 for him, or
yeah,
technically maybe 3, the
yeah.
big hit too.
Yes.
Um, and the original pianist that had been cast was unavailable. And so they asked if I would do it, and so I got flown to New York. Next thing I know, I finally got to meet, well, I had met him before, but I got to know him,
Wow.
Lin-Manuel, and to work with him for the first time in the movie.
Another I mean, when it
Boom.
comes to musicals, like, just an amazing, amazing.
Genius. That's all I do is work with genius.
I was about to say, you just, it's genius level for you all the way.
Genius level. Yeah, so another lovely human being that is
Ah,
defies labels as far as how exceptional he is, both as a
wow.
creative, as a director. I thought he did a beautiful job with the movie,
Mhm.
and as a human being. I mean, just like all 3 of them
Mm.
have offered a lot with their artistry in terms of political statements with Stevie,
Right,
women's power statements with Beyoncé,
right.
changing the nature of musical theater as an entity with Lin-Manuel. He literally changed it. Like, what,
Completely.
wow, you
Right, just,
know?
like,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and to be so personal, like, they're all like, you can all have conversations with them, like, they're personable.
Wow.
It's just wow, So just
Yeah.
they all inspire me endlessly. And so, I did the movie, and then after the movie, I was cast as part of his other musical, which is Freestyle Love Supreme, that I did on Broadway. I did some shows on Broadway, and I did some of the tour with them as well. So I've had incredible jobs, but they've all led to where I am now, which is, oh, I left off one thing. So you talked about
Oh,
the book, right?
yes.
So I did my
When
first book.
when did you write the book?
The book was 2021 and was released in 2022.
Okay.
And it's classical piano pieces that you can actually play. So it's a compilation of classical pieces by composers throughout various eras, from the Baroque era up to the contemporary era, as
Wow.
well as pieces from me. Some of my original compositions are in it as
Really? I
well.
have to get it for my oldest son, Christian, who he started teaching himself piano,
Okay.
2, 3 years ago, and
Mhm.
he's really into classical music, like, that's his thing. He listens to classical music and then, like, figures it out, and so I think your book would be amazing for him.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love for him to have it and then learn your pieces as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that definitely opened a door for me transitioning from being a piano teacher one-on-one and on Zoom because I was doing that too through the
Yeah.
pandemic. That's part of helping to survive. Into having a platform that then people can just go to, and it doesn't actually require my energy because that's one thing that I'm discovering is my energy is not exponential, and, like, I can actually relax and calm down.
Yeah.
But definitely moving into the space of being a creative, which leads
Amazing.
to I'm composing 2 musicals right now. Yes. One of them, it was just announced, has been accepted as part of the spring season for ACT in San Francisco, American Conservatory Theater.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And the other one, we're
Congratulations.
still trying to see where it's gonna go, but the one in San Francisco is called Co-Founders, and it's about the intersection of Oakland, California, and Silicon Valley, a young
Oh,
Black woman coder hacker who tries to hack her way into Silicon Valley.
I
And
love it. I love
the
that. That
Yeah.
sounds like a fantastic
It's
story.
super high tech, it's hip hop, it's really great. The other
Amazing.
one is about Marian Anderson, the African American opera singer
Yeah.
who changed the world by performing at the Lincoln Memorial in 1939 in front of the first, if not the first, one of the first interracial audiences of 75,000 people.
Really?
Mhm. Yeah,
Wow.
because
So
she
this
was
is
denied a stage in Washington, DC because she was Black.
mm. Oh, wow. I get chills just listening to this the story behind it, and it's classical, so that must
Mm.
be very interesting to write a piece that has to do with classical, with your
Yeah.
background and with everything. I can't wait to I
Yeah.
actually have to fly to the States to see these
Oh,
pieces.
yeah, come on.
Yeah. I'd love that. I come
Yeah,
there, you come here.
perfect. And then the last thing, creatively that I'm doing is so my partner, Dave Tweedy, and I have been together for 9 years now,
Yay!
and initially, we did not do any music together. We perform, but we didn't create any music. And
He's a
then
drummer, right?
he's a multi-instrumentalist and
Oh,
film
wow.
and television composer, but he's
Wow.
primarily his he's masterful as a drummer, right? But, he plays wonderfully. Like, his music is incredible.
Oh, wow.
And so in 2019, we were invited to Italy by our, endorsing company, which is Proel. They're
Mhm.
the biggest Italian music manufacturer, and, I represent their keyboards, Dexibel keyboards. He
Yeah,
represents their drums, tamburo drums. So we
yeah,
went over there and figured, if we're gonna go play, let's write some songs together and make up a band. So we made up the band name EnSPirits with an E,
yeah,
EnSPIRT,
yes.
IR I can't even spell ITS. There we go.
Yeah.
And Spirits is the name of the band, and we started making some songs. And we've been touring internationally since 2019. We just got back from Dubai where we did some shows. In Christmas, we did a Christmas concert in Pompeii, Italy. We did a tour in Europe for 2 months last year, Scandinavia for 5 weeks the year before. So just, we're trying to build it and yeah, we're writing music together and when we perform our songs, they're catchy, so people sing them back. We call it disco jazz.
Oh, I
People
love that.
people always dance and it's the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I'm being an artist in my own right now
You're being an artist and that's what all of this thing all the choices you made was to get to this point,
to get to
right?
this point. Exactly.
Oh, amazing. Oh, I just
Yeah.
love you. Well, I already loved your story before, but I just loved the journey. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful
Thank you.
and so well deserved. Absolutely so well deserved. It's just amazing. And so many people, not only artists. So the reason I started the podcast is because like I said, I walked away from that. I didn't walk away from music, but I was at the pinnacle of my career. I had just released an album with Universal on that was distributed by Universal, and then my mom had a stroke, and so I kind of, long story short, I walked away from the stage. When we met, I stopped for 10, 12 years. I stopped. I didn't sing at all, but it had a lot to do with the grief of
Yeah,
losing,
absolutely.
and because I really couldn't even like I couldn't get the music out almost,
Yeah.
and then felt compelled and did other things. Like you did the coding, I did other things. I built a marketing career and business, then worked with huge international brands. So it was beautiful, and I raised my boys.
Yeah.
And then just before I turned 50, when the pandemic hit, I just felt like I need to go back. It's
Yeah.
time. It's been long enough.
That's
And
awesome.
and I think sometimes God gives you little like pushes on the shoulder, and at some point kind of pushes, like, okay, you're not listening. Just go.
Yep.
So, um, and I feel really strongly about encouraging anyone who is sitting on a talent, or or because life happened they couldn't really pursue their dreams, or they had to
Mhm.
put them aside, that it doesn't matter what age you are, what happened in your life, you can always decide to step out and build your own platform, right? Because when you talk about being in the industry, like with major labels or whatever, versus doing things on your own and having that creative freedom, and
Mhm.
so this podcast for me, it was really a passion project. It's kind of an extension of my stage. And I've been so blessed to meet incredible people like you, absolutely at the top of that, of
Um,
all these incredible people that I've met. And I just want to share their story to inspire. And what I see as a thread, it seems like everybody I speak to has this beautiful spirit and this beautiful humility, and being such virtuosos in their own right in whatever they do, but then that spirit of gratitude and humility and just love that shines through, that I think brings all these beautiful things to you.
yeah.
And you're such a testament to that. This conversation is just like amazing. I expected it to be wonderful, but it just completely blew past everything I expected. Your story already says what you would recommend, but if you could give advice to a young person starting in the music industry, or maybe an older person that still wants to, try something for themselves, or has this passion to do something for themselves, what would you advise?
I would advise figure out why you want to do it,
Mm.
right?
Oh,
Because if you want to make music to be a star, you're already on the wrong path.
amen.
You should make music because you can't help it, because you have to. And if you pursue it with that attitude and you're relentless in your practice and your networking, but not being a jerk, not being someone that's unapproachable or unpleasant. If you're a cool person and you just get out there, you network, you practice, you write, you write, you write, you write, and compose and just make things and have fun with it. Do it for the love.
Yeah.
Anything else, there's better ways to make money. There's easier ways to make money. If that's your goal, find something else. But if your goal is you have to, go for it. I don't care
Yeah.
how old you are. Go
Yeah.
for it. Just do it. Whatever the style of your music is, whatever it is that's your expression, there's somebody in the world that's literally hungry for it.
Oh my God. It's like you're reading my mind. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I keep thinking that whatever it is you want to do in life, whether it's music or writing, or you want to start your own business, you want to be an entrepreneur, and you think there are so many people out there, why would they listen to me? Because somebody out there is waiting to hear from you. Like
Yeah.
you're the voice that they need to hear, to maybe, pull them out of whatever situation, or,
Absolutely.
to put a smile on their face, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And it's like you can't put any restrictions on it because you don't know. You don't
Mhm.
know if it's gonna be one person whose life you changed the entire trajectory of their life, which
Right.
means you're not gonna make a living off of it,
No,
but you changed somebody, or it could be a million people,
that's right. Yeah.
in which case you can afford
Make
to
a
just do
living.
that. But it's
Yeah.
just I just find the people who are pursuing it because of money or pursuing it because of fame, it's just
Mm.
that's the wrong box.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm like, I hope that works out for you, but, it probably won't. So,
Yeah.
there's an entire industry, it's a separate issue. We're talking
Yeah,
about
absolutely. Yeah.
just music, then it's because of the love. There's
Mhm.
nothing in life that would stop me from loving music.
Ah,
Nothing. I will do it for the rest of my life, you know?
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Now do
So
I wanna make a whole bunch of money and be famous? Not famous so much, famous, whatever, but make a whole bunch of
money
money
would be good.
and have my songs be famous? Yes.
Speaking of songs, you have a beautiful album, and Grateful is the name of the album. And Grateful, I think Grateful is such a beautiful song, and
Thank you.
it stands for everything you stand for. I just think this is so
Mhm.
reflective of who you are.
Yeah.
And I also heard there's a song you wrote, and I want to ask you what led to that. I have an idea, but it's a song "Human," and I got chills and I got tears in my eyes the first time I heard it. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So I wrote that song in response to just week after week, you heard stories about African American men, particularly, but women as well,
Mhm.
being killed by police officers and they were unarmed. They were just living their life. And I couldn't understand.
Yeah,
I still can't understand how people don't see each other as human beings. Like, it's just, I don't care what your color is. I don't care what your body is. I don't care. Treat
right.
people with kindness, period. That's just,
Of
that
course.
it's Maya Angelou said it best. You know what's right. Just do it. Or you know what it is, right? I'm misquoting Miss Angelou.
Miss Anson.
It's something to
Yeah,
that effect,
yeah,
right? You know what's right. Just do it,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's such a beautiful song, and
Thank
just
you.
like just gripping. I imagined when I heard the lyrics that that's what must have led to it, but it's just
Yeah.
beautiful, and you're singing so beautifully on it
Thank
too.
you. Thank
Just
you.
gorgeous. It's like that marrying of I hear the classical and of course all
Yeah.
the influences is very beautiful.
Yeah.
What so if I ask what's in store, you already said there's 2 musicals in the pipeline. There is your touring anywhere and
Yeah.
everywhere
And
with
spirits. Trying to
yes, with
launch
EnSPirits.
in spirits in the big way, and just
Ah,
keep touring. Dave and I have the best time touring in the world.
okay.
Um, and the results are good. Like every show we do, people love it. So it's an amazing, what a blessing.
Amazing. And
Such a blessing.
do you bring a band with you, or do you tour the 2 of you and then play with people from the country where you go to? How do you do it?
It all depends, right? So we can function as a duo.
Mhm.
Right, so when we play live, Dave plays drums, I kick bass with my left hand, I play chords with my right hand, I sing, we both sing. I sing
Yeah.
leads, he sings harmonies, and I'm dancing, I'm doing the whole thing, right? I'm just it's a whole thing.
Love it.
And, we're effervescent and fun, and, it's like every time we play, people dance.
I
Okay,
love it. I
people
love it.
really enjoy the show. Now if there is a big enough budget where we
Mhm.
can afford to hire additional musicians, we love that. We love having a full band. Like, our dream would be to have a horn section, 2 guitars, 2 keyboard players, 3 background singers, bass player, just
Amazing.
we'd love that, but of course,
Yeah.
it's very expensive to be able to
Yeah.
do all that, and that, maybe a life goal we aim for.
Yeah. And as you're getting to that life goal that you're reaching for, possibly you're having the time of your life and making incredible music and making so many people
Yeah,
happy. That's just and traveling all over the world.
and traveling all over the world, yeah,
It's the dream.
just trying to put out songs. So we have 4 songs online now on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube,
All the
and
things,
we have,
all the
4 music
places.
videos, and we just applied for the Tiny Desk concerts in, 2024, so we'll see. I hope they
That's
choose us.
brilliant. Yay! So where can people find you?
They can find us you can find me, my band, and Dave all on all the platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, what am I missing? Apple Music,
Facebook,
Facebook, just
all the
everything. We're
places.
on everything. So Victoria Theodore is my name. Dave Tweedy is his name. And the name of the band is EnSPirits. So follow us on all the things that you possibly can. Yeah,
Yay! And we'll put all the links below this video so people can go in and find your channel and find you in all the places.
great.
And I could not recommend it more. I mean, everybody has heard your story, if that doesn't speak for itself.
Thank you.
This has been such a joy. I can't even begin to tell you how
Thank
much
you.
I loved spending this time with you. And I just love you. And I can't wait to see you again.
I can't wait to see you. My
I
goodness.
know.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're gonna have a good time.
yes, absolutely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Victoria. Mwah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.